Hello and welcome back to another edition of Prodigy Talks. I'm Rob Lawrence and we're recording this at Pinnacle 2024 on Marco Island here in Florida, talking to Rick Patrick from the US Fire Administration. And Rick, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so USFA, I think half of EMS, because of course it's fire-based, understands what the USFA is, and of course the other half may not. So let's start with a quick explainer. What is USFA?
Sure. It's the United States Fire Administration, and we are an administration housed within FEMA and Homeland Security with a focus on fire and life safety in the United States and the services that fire departments provide, EMS being one of those.
Excellent. And obviously, in this day and age, of course, we're seeing, we've managed to mitigate and reduce the number of fires. Obviously, EMS is a growing sort of level of response for fire. What is your approach to administrate EMS particularly?
Well, as we're building out an actual official EMS branch within my division, and we right now have about 5 full-time experts in the profession, we're focusing on not only what fire-based EMS needs are, but EMS holistically, where gaps exist that the federal government can work to assist the delivery models with. That being said, we're data guided in what we do, and fire departments, almost all of them in the United States, provide EMS or rescue services in some way, shape, or form. We also operate the National Fire Incident Reporting System, and that's the data that fire departments put into the system. 67% at minimum of the weekly data put in by fire departments across America are to EMS and rescue responses. So that in and of itself should at least explain, the level of why we need to be involved within the realm of emergency medical services.
That's excellent. Now, of course, as a federal government department, obviously we have other EMS works with NHTSA. We have a number of national associations around representing various interests. And so how is USFA integrating and working with those other bodies?
Oh, absolutely. Fantastic question. So multiple ways. We have regular meetings, both virtually and in person, with pretty much you name the non-government organization involved in EMS to keep them informed as to what we're doing, to listen to them, to absorb and identify what their needs and wants and issues are. Of course, we have to determine whether it's federal responsibility too. But at the same time, that's where FICEMS, or the Federal Interagency Committee on EMS, comes into play. That brings all those federal partners that you're talking about, not only NHTSA, but Health and Human Services and a variety of entities within them, such as CMS and the EMS for Children program in HRSA, as well as DOD, us at the USFA. We are all statutorily charged to participate within FICEMS and to collaborate and coordinate. And the way I like to sum it up is the responsible use of taxpayer dollars with that. And we actually all work very well together, collaboratively, and or assuring that we don't duplicate something that another agency already is doing.
And actually you answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So for full disclosure, everybody, that Rick and I meet every 2 weeks on a NHTSA Office of EMS meeting where we liaise, we exchange issues and ideas and really just give briefings on what we're up to. What are we doing well and what can we do better though?
Well, it comes back to the resources. We in the Fed have the same issues that we hear from the stakeholders, yourself and all the organizations that you and our other colleagues represent. Those resources of people and money to actually help you do your job better becomes our greatest challenge. I don't have the direct answer on that, but I think one thing that we can collectively do in EMS, since funding is a huge issue, is take one of those funding topics that we can all agree on and let's make it happen. And when I say let's make it happen, I think the advocacy from the non-government entities is critical in order to do that. From the our federal standpoint, we can't lobby. We can educate where we can, with that. But if we get, 1 or 2 wins for the holistic aspect of EMS, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, and you make an excellent point, and we've had this discussion on our various meetings. As a national association, we can lobby around the outside. As a federal agency, hopefully you can brief up the middle, and somewhere we'll meet, and hopefully we'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely. And this is where FICMS comes into play, because FICMS is statutorily charged to not only collaborate by 16 federal agencies, but we issue a report to Congress every year. So that report can be leveraged by the non-government entities as well to say, look, this is the collective voice. Even if some entities disagree with certain parts of it, there are a number of topics that we all agree on.
So the briefing to Congress, then, I mean, not getting you to express a personal opinion, but what do you think, what's the FICM's biggest ticket item right now?
Post-crash care is one of the biggest ones. Trauma issues on the roadway systems in the United States is increasing. It's becoming a more serious issue than it was just 3 or 4 or 5 years ago across the spectrum. And, an interesting statistic to that, that a number of us have spoken about at some of these events, deals with the FARS data, the Fatal Analysis Reporting System that DOT operates, and has demonstrated or showed that 25% of fatalities from crashes were alive when we arrived on scene with that. Now, that's not critical to us. It raises the question as to what can we do in advanced innovative care to improve survivability in those things. That's one of the greatest challenges I think we're confronted with right now.
And I think it's a worthwhile focus, because I was always a great fan of reading the World Health Organization report about, the causes of death around the world. It's traumatic injury, it's road traffic accident, etc. And we kind of think of that as a third world problem, but actually we're suffering from it equally as much.
Absolutely. And, it's the response to the unfortunate incident that we're going to, but our own providers are getting in trouble when we're functioning at these scenes as well. We had last year one of the highest years on record of struck by incidents of police, fire, EMS, and our professional wrecker operators as well. So safety operating at those scenes is a critical aspect as well.
Excellent, which kind of brings me on then, of course, traffic incident management is clearly a key part of our contribution to managing and administrating that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We are intimately involved at the USFA in the topic of roadway safety across the board, and we have a number of products that taxpayers have paid for that are available on our website related to that topic alone. Best practices for roadway operations and protecting the first responder, or maybe the first responder protecting themselves while working at these events. And it doesn't have to be a crash. Anytime there's an ambulance or emergency vehicle parked on the roadway, we got to be thinking about our own safety, because the general public isn't expecting to see an emergency vehicle just sitting stationary on a roadway, regardless of the incident.
So USFA, TIMS, safety, World Health Organization, I think we've covered it all, Rick. So for the minute, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
It's a pleasure. I would really appreciate it, Rob.
Thank you, Rick Patrick, USFA. I've been Rob Lawrence. Another Prodigy Talks. Back to you.